VanillaSky, mind-bending psychological thriller that leaves the viewer questioning what's reality and what's a nightmare. Released in 2001, VanillaSky tells the story of David Ames, played by Tom Cruise, a spoiled, rich, womanizing owner of a publishing company, who inherited his worth from his late father. David's once carefree life turns upside down after he meets the mysterious Sophia, played by Penelope Cruz, and instantly falls in love with her, where his jealous, casual lover Julie, played by Cameron Diaz, tries to kill him by smashing her car with them both inside. Julie dies, but David is left disfigured and yearning for Sophia, and resorts to wearing a prosthetic mask. After he reconnects with Sophia, he undergoes surgery to fix his face, and it seems that things are looking up for him, where his life becomes a nightmare as he's haunted by disturbing visions, where he hallucinates that he becomes disfigured again, and even more confusing, Sophia seems to mysteriously start changing into Julia. Stuck in jail on a murder charge, David's only salvation is his jail psychologist, Dr. McCabe, played by Kurt Russell, where David tries to figure out what's real and what are his dreams, and whether he is mentally ill or something more sinister is taking place in this surreal reality-bending tale. I know this film wasn't very popular with the mainstream when it came out, but it's oddly a film that haunts me every time I watch it. And not many movies haunt me. So yeah, I actually do quite like this movie. So today we are looking into 10 things that you didn't know about VanillaSky. Something doesn't seem right about my face. Oh no! I forgot to wear my aviators! Whew, thank God for that. Otherwise I would have looked really silly. Number 10. Remake of Open Your Eyes. Okay, this may be something that fans of the movie know, but I thought I'll explore it anyway. VanillaSky is a remake of Open Your Eyes, a Spanish movie which came out in 1997. The two movies follow the same story and in some parts were shot very similar, and just like VanillaSky, Penelope Cruz also stars in Open Your Eyes as Sophia. There are a few changes, such as the characters' names. For example, the David character is called Caesar in Open Your Eyes, and the story doesn't take place in New York City, but instead Madrid. The biggest difference to me is Open Your Eyes feels much more like a horror movie. It's darker, both in tone and visuals, and has more of a chilling, foreboding atmosphere. We also see Penelope Cruz as a mime clown, which is sheer nightmare fuel. And David's prosthetic mask also has eyebrows, which to me is just, yeah. In fact, a lot of people, and I do mean a lot of people, say that they actually prefer Open Your Eyes to VanillaSky, which I actually totally understand why. Bottom line is, the world created in Open Your Eyes doesn't feel as shiny or as glossy as the one seen in VanillaSky, and thus it feels less safe and like a more hostile world. Number 9. From horror to Sgt. Pepper. VanillaSky came to be because Tom Cruise attended the premiere of Open Your Eyes at the Sundance Film Festival in 1998, where he got his production team to obtain the rights to Open Your Eyes to remake the movie for an American audience. He also approached director Cameron Crowe to direct, as the two had previously worked together a few years earlier on the smash hit Jerry Maguire. Crowe also said that when he saw Open Your Eyes, he couldn't get it out of his mind, and wanted to be a part of the conversation that Open Your Eyes started. Crowe definitely put his own flair on the project. In the DVD commentary, he makes several references to the Beatles album Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and often talks about how it influenced him on his filmmaking with VanillaSky, in the sense that the album cover has so much detail. So much so, each time you look at the album cover, you'll notice something that you haven't seen before. I believe Crowe was trying to create a movie version of that effect, by having hidden elements and visuals in the movie, with audiences spotting something different they hadn't noticed before each time they watch it. And just like Sgt. Pepper's, VanillaSky is both bright and colourful and even psychedelic. In fact, there are a lot of Beatle-related references in VanillaSky. In a blink and you'll miss it moment, you see an extra wearing a Revolution 9 t-shirt, which is a reference to the Beatles song Revolution 9, which is a strange and surreal and even nightmarish collage of sounds that John Lennon and Yoko Ono made for the White Album. And even some of the music cues in VanillaSky sound similar to Revolution 9. And the apartment that the David character lives in is the Dakota, the apartment block that Lennon also lived in when his life was sadly cut short. And if you need further proof that Crow had Beatles on the mind when he made VanillaSky, the movie's title song was performed by none other than Paul McCartney. Number 8. A sky full of pop cultural references. Beatles aside, there are tons, and I mean tons of pop cultural references in VanillaSky. Enough to make your average Marvel movie blush. Unlike Open Your Eyes, VanillaSky has more of a Hollywood movie feel about it. It's more vibrant and colourful, and the whole movie is like a collage of pop cultural references. It has references to Kill a Mockingbird, Conan O'Brien has a cameo, and in the background of the empty New York scene we even see an episode of The Twilight Zone. We also see clips from movies such as Dr. No and a Bjork music video. There is also heaps of rock music featured throughout the film, from bands like the Rolling Stones, R.E.M. and the Beach Boys. And unless I'm mistaken, the guy who plays the jail psychologist looks a lot like Snake Plissken from Escape from New York. Okay, that's a joke, I know it's Kurt Russell. But the movie is scattered with clips of old TV shows, movies and commercials, way too many to count. In fact, there are a whopping 428 pop cultural references in VanillaSky. Yikes. My only problem is the movie makes a thing of pointing these references out, and literally says, look at this shot, it's just like that Bob Dylan album cover. Personally, I'd rather it didn't point it out, but instead just leave it to us the viewer to figure it out. Sometimes the audience doesn't need the dots connected for us. The logic behind the pop cultural references is that David is in a lucid dream, so his dream life is made up of a collection of movies that he has seen and songs that he has heard, which is actually a really interesting concept, and actually makes sense, so there is a rhyme and reason behind all these pop cultural references. But yeah, I still don't think the movie needed to do the ta-da, look at these references, just give us a hint and we'll figure it out. Number 7. Title change. For a while, there was a rumour that VanillaSky wasn't called Open Your Eyes like its Spanish original, out of fear that people may think it's a sequel to a previous Tom Cruise film, Eyes Wide Shut, which was directed by Stanley Kubrick. After all, Open Your Eyes can be seen as an antidote title to Eyes Wide Shut, as one title is about eyes being closed and the other is about them being open. That and the two movies are actually kinda similar. They are both surreal, and they deal with romantic relationships, feature masks, and explore dreams and nightmares. But I digress. I haven't heard anything official to back that claim up, so take with it what you will. Also, supposedly, VanillaSky was the proposed title for Cameron Crowe's previous movie, Almost Famous. The title VanillaSky is a reference to an 1873 painting by Claude Monet, which also appears in the movie. Number 6. Made back-to-back with another movie. Cameron Crowe made VanillaSky back-to-back with Almost Famous. In fact, when production started on VanillaSky, he wanted to make sure that he pretty much kept the same crew that he had for Almost Famous, which he referred to as the band, which also includes the movie's composer Nancy Wilson, who is also Crowe's wife, who delivers a haunting, tragic, and even warped and surreal sound for VanillaSky. In fact, supposedly, even Almost Famous star Kate Hudson auditioned for the role of the Julie character, and it was through her that her stepdad Kurt Russell got the role of Dr. McCabe, although he and Tom Cruise had apparently wanted to work together on a project for a while, and Russell accepted the role without even reading the script, something that's almost unheard of. There are some interesting behind-the-scenes stories involving the set of VanillaSky. For example, David's TV, which sinks down to the floor via remote, was actually designed by Tom Cruise himself, and director Steven Spielberg visited the set to talk to Tom Cruise about his upcoming movie Minority Report, which Cruise would go on to star in. And when Spielberg turned up, Cameron was filming the party scene and just basically yelled out at him to get in there, which led to Spielberg having a cameo in VanillaSky. On the DVD commentary, Crowe joked that one of his colleagues was shocked and said to him, "So, is that how we talk to Spielberg now? Yelling at him to get in there?" I love it. Number 5. Closing down the city. Filming began for VanillaSky in late 2000 and lasted for 6 weeks. Apparently, Crowe was anxious to get the filming completed in that time in order to avoid a pending strike in the industry. A standout moment in the movie is where David has a nightmare that he is the only person in Times Square, with the whole of New York City appearing to be empty. Despite rumours that CGI played a hand in this sequence, this was actually achieved by filming very early on a Sunday morning and blocking off certain roads. However, the roads could only be blocked off for short periods of time. Now this may seem easy enough, but the tight filming schedule also had to deal with rehearsals and setting up equipment like filming cranes. The last scene in the movie, which features the New York City landscape, also features the 2 towers. That's because this scene was filmed and edited before the attacks. It was considered to digitally remove them, but Cameron said that he did not want to remove the towers as seen in the movie and kept them in there, with them being something of a tribute. After filming on location in New York, interior filming then took place on sound stages at Paramount Pictures in Los Angeles. But when you think about it, David started his lucid dream before the September tragedy. So it would actually make sense for them to be there, because this is a world made up of David's mind and memories. Number 4, deleted scenes. As with most movies, there are a ton of deleted scenes that were cut from VanillaSky. Some that fascinate me include a scene of David vomiting in the restroom while getting drunk at the nightclub. Yeah, it's gross, but it kind of perfectly displays how his life has literally gone down the toilet. There's a really tragic scene where David and the lucid dream tech support guy, played by Noah Taylor, are able to travel back as ghosts to David's funeral. It's actually really sad and tragic. I mean, imagine attending your own funeral. Is it just me, or does this scene have a Charles Dickens Christmas Carol approach about it? In the theatrical cut, David and Dr. McCabe visit Life Extension when David sees an advert for it on a jail TV. There is an alternative scene where it's McCabe who sees the Life Extension advert, which prompts him and David to visit the company's headquarters. What's interesting is that we see his daughters. Yeah, his daughters that he often talks about throughout the film. But what's even more interesting is we don't see their faces, and I feel like it's filmed in a way that there is a disconnect between McCabe and the daughters, like they aren't really there, and what they are saying is kind of like white noise that isn't registering with him, which, given the movie's twist, makes sense. There is a scene where while at Life Extension, McCabe encourages David to take off his mask, to which David sees himself as disfigured, whereas to McCabe he looks normal. This scene was actually in the original Open Your Eyes as well. The scene that followed shows David accepting that he is living in a dream world where he shoots the jail guard, played by Michael Shannon. This scene was also in Open Your Eyes, but I'm glad it was cut from VanillaSky, as it makes David seem less sympathetic and more brutal, and like he has it in him to kill. Whereas a huge subplot of the movie is David insisting that he's not a killer. So it's a contradiction. In fact, there is nearly an entire alternative ending on the rooftop, comprised of different takes that weren't in the theatrical cut and added dialogue. All in all, it's fun exploring deleted scenes on a what if level, but I do think that VanillaSky is better for having those scenes cut out. Number 3, VanillaSky featured an original song that you may have missed. In the scene where Julie is driving with David in her car, where she goes crazy and tries to kill them both, she's listening to a song on her car radio, which the character claims is a song that she sung herself. Well, this wasn't just some random song plucked from somewhere to use for this scene. The song was called I Fall Apart and was actually sung by Cameron Diaz, and written by VanillaSky's composer Nancy Wilson. The song is credited to being written and sung by Julie Gianni, which is the full name of the character that Diaz plays. And what's even more fascinating is the song actually won an Academy Award for Best Original Song. I'm honestly surprised that the song was noticed, to be honest, not because there's anything wrong with it, but because that scene is so tense and so nerve-wracking. I'm more focused on how erratic, scary, and generally batshit insane Cameron Diaz is getting, rather than trying to hear what song is playing on her radio, but hey, that's just me. Number 2, ending interpretations. No doubt about it, VanillaSky is a puzzle, a confusing movie which starts off as an erotic thriller, which then descends into madness, and then in its climax, it's given a science fiction twist. And the ending is just as confusing as the rest of the movie, where David leaps off a building to wake up from his lucid dream to lead a real normal life. This has left many fans confused as to what on earth happened. Like, was the whole thing a dream? Is David actually in a coma? Was he just insane, or did he really wake up in a new reality? Well, director Cameron Crowe has said there are 5 ways the end can be interpreted, and it was designed to be that way. Number 1, what we are seeing on screen is true, that by jumping off the building, David is leaving his dream world to live in a real world 150 years in his future. Number 2, the entire movie from start to finish is just a weird and disjointed dream that the David character had. Number 3, the movie is real right up until the car crash, where David has a fever dream while in a coma. 4. Just like the previous theory, the movie's events are real, only this time it's right up until he gets corrective surgery, and thus the medication David is on while going through the procedure causes these visions and nightmares. And number 5, the whole movie was just a book that the character Brian, played by Jason Lee, was writing. Brian is David's best friend, who we learn that David has commissioned to write a book. And we also learn that Brian is jealous of David's life, success, and love life. So maybe this is a twisted book/fantasy of Brian's to see his rival's life fall apart. In fact, I find the ending to VanillaSky to be very similar to Total Recall, as in both movies there is ambiguity as to whether or not the events that have taken place in the movie are real, and if the characters are actually now waking up. Number 1, vanilla reactions. VanillaSky was released in December 2001 and would go on to make over $203 million on a $68 million budget, making it financially successful, and Tom Cruise even claimed that it was his favourite movie that he had worked on up until that time. Although the movie got fairly mixed reviews from critics. Going by memory, when the film came out, it was kind of overshadowed by Tom Cruise's real-life divorce with Nicole Kidman, and the fact that he and Penelope Cruz started a short-lived love affair while making the movie. In fact, VanillaSky's release being overshadowed by Tom's newfound love for Penelope Cruz was somewhat mirrored several years later with 2005's War of the Worlds, where that movie was overshadowed by Tom's newfound love for jumping on couches. Some criticisms were that VanillaSky was incoherent, confusing, and felt like a jumbled mess. But to be fair, that's what it's meant to be like. The movie isn't trying to be conventional but dreamlike, as dreams play a huge part of the movie. Other complaints are that the David character was too unlikable and too narcissistic. But once again, that's kind of the point. He's meant to be an unlikable person who improves while going through such an extraordinary experience. To me, characters are more interesting when they are flawed, as it leads to growth in their journeys. The movie would even go on to be the subject of some jokes, with TV shows like Family Guy calling it an abortion. Although the movie did get some praise from critics, including Richard Roper, who claimed that it was his second best movie of 2001. Both The Matrix and Inception also have similar themes of living in dream worlds, along with free will and the decisions that we make. And both those movies were hits, but sandwiched in between those two movies was VanillaSky, which sadly never got the appraisal that both those other movies managed to get. I think it's worth a watch. It's a thought-provoking and even terrifying movie, exploring themes of not being able to trust the reality around you. But even more importantly, it has a powerful message, in that it may be fun to live the dream, but living a real life is more important, as the sweet is never as sweet without the sour. Although VanillaSky does have its fans, I do think the movie is underrated, and definitely deserves another viewing. Who knows, maybe it's a movie that will actually get better with age. Maybe it was just a misunderstood film for its time. Or maybe I'm looking at it with rose-tinted glasses and it's a pretentious mess. But either way, I'm Minty, and I'll catch you later. See ya!